Hi everybody, I welcome
Yes, sir.
you all in Jagran Lake City University webinar series. You know, JLU Bhopal is one of the fastest growing and one of the most awarded universities of central India, having practice-based pedagogy at its core. Currently, we are offering 56 degree programs and more than 2,500 students are with us, and they belong to 8 countries and almost every state of India. The university has 27 partnerships with top industries and international universities, ensuring that students get great exposure both nationally and internationally. Our motto is lighting minds and lighting lives.
Yeah, please continue.
The university has been bestowed with several prestigious awards such as University of the Year by Government of Madhya Pradesh for consecutive 4 years in 15, 16, 17 and 18. And it is recognized as a global league for private universities of Madhya Pradesh in the year 2016 and onwards. Today, we have with us Hansal Mehta as a filmmaker of real substance and a gem of person. His name doesn't need much of introduction. Hansal has made a number of feature films over the years, which have received critical acclaim and rewards and awards and all across the world. His films participated in a number of coveted big international film festivals, including the Toronto, Milan, Mummy, and the British Film Academy, of course. He was honored as the best director for his film Shahid, and Shahid won him the Best Director award. He was honored further. He sensitized the world with his amazing film Aligarh and Umarta. His City Lights was also a great milestone to his career. His other films are Jayate, Dil Pe Mat Le Yaar, Das Kahaniyan, Woodstock Villa, Chal, Simran, and a number of tele-serials also. Challenging and critical subjects, analytically and honestly handled, is actually his show and it is his brand of cinema. We feel honored with his presence today over here, and as a friend, I feel truly obliged. Now, to start with, film actually has a history of just 125 years. You know, and in these 125 years, it has become the most sophisticated and most advanced and moreover, most popular art forms. Perhaps it is nearly impossible to find a single soul who has never watched any film in his or her lifetime. Film is often referred to as composite art form, representational art form, or an amalgam or a concussion of all other art forms like music, painting, dance, sculpture, literature, and yeah, theater too. And of course, it is everything in its perfect blend and proportion, and you know, it creates what we call the magic of cinema or the magic of film. Film is a triangle of art, technique, and business also. When it comes to watching films, it is an experience of sheer magic in the darkness of the cinema halls. And when it comes to the making of films, it is real mystery where I very personally call insane passions of a number of artists, technicians, and other skilled persons are matched in perfect coherence and they are tuned up in a melodious harmony. We would like to know from Hansal what is actually film for him and his own journey as a filmmaker, what it had been since he started his career with teleserials, later he switched to feature films, and he made a number of features. So, and the third one, what are the possible career options in the film for the young aspirants and how can they achieve it? So, now over to Hansal now. Hansal, please.
Hi, thank you, Rajiv. I'm really honored. It's a great pleasure to be here talking to everyone. Uh, it's a bit challenging technologically in today's extraordinary times, but we are in an extraordinary time, and we should be thankful that we have technology that is helping us still stay connected. So yes. And film for me was and always remains a means of expression. I mean, I find it one of the most complete forms of expression. An amalgamation of painting, an amalgamation of technology, an amalgamation of music, poetry, literature, documentary, so many things. I mean, so many art forms come together uh, in the telling of a story through film. So for me, film is that it is that uh, very complete art form that allows me to tell so many very so many varied stories. I got into films primarily because I wanted to tell stories. I uh, unfortunately did not have any formal training in films in film. I also, I mean, I came started with the disadvantage that my uh, I was not allowed to assist anyone. I went and approached many directors, and most of them said no to me. I had no background in the film industry. My father had nothing to do with the film industry. I had no relatives in the film industry. So it was, uh, I was really not able to get that kind of a break in. But, uh, you know, I come from a state called Gujarat. I'm a Gujarati, and Gujaratis know how to get it. And today we've got a chaiwala as our prime minister. So, so same way, I mean, a Gujarati computer programmer became a filmmaker. I realized that the space for telling stories through fiction was really crowded. This is way back in 1993. Uh, ZTV had just started then. It was a new television, channel. It had just begun operations, and it was the beginning of the technological revolution in storytelling. But there were so many people who were making fiction shows. So I went with an idea. I said, I won't do fiction. And then there was Antakshari, which was a unique thing. The first time it was like one of the first reality shows on Indian television that was happening. I said, what can I do differently? So I went with a proposal for a food show. I said, I can show people, show the country how to cook. And I went with a food show, and within 3 weeks, ZTV lapped it up. Nobody else had gone to them with a proposal for a food show. Everybody wanted to make a soap opera, a mythological, something dramatic. Everybody wanted to show off their skills as film directors, as
Right.
filmmakers. So I went with a food show, and that food show, of course, with a lot of initial struggle,
Yeah.
ultimately created history. We became
Khana Khazana.
the food show was called Khana. It was called Khana Khazana,
Yeah.
and Khana Khazana ran for 22 years. Today, the chef who hosted the show, Sanjeev Kapoor, is a brand into himself. He runs a television network called Food Food. So, I mean, that's how I started. And that is primarily what I always tell people, that there is a way. There's always a way. People always come complaining to me that, oh, I'm not able to assist. कोई मुझे काम ही नहीं देता है. Nobody listens to me. I have no family. How do I get in? So people usually come from a place of bitterness. I have never seen this as bitterness. I have uh, found my being an outsider always to be an advantage. That there is no expectation from me. So 27 years, and I work without the weight of expectations. The weight of expectations is unfortunately on those whose families, generations of their families are in films. So that weight of expectations will perhaps be on my son. But to most of you, that weight of expectation will not be there. So I
Right.
continued. I mean, one opportunity led to the other, and I was trying to find outlets. How do I tell a story? So I mean, we got my early days. I got a story. I got a proposal from CTV. They liked me as a producer. They said, can you make a? They had a show called You Love Stories. They said, can you make a love story for us? So I wrote. I had written some, in my past time before I started actually becoming got into this field. I had written some stories. So I went with one of the stories to the channel. They loved the story. They said, okay, go ahead, make it. So that story, I made that story, and actually I did not want to direct it because I did not know how to direct. But as luck would have it, I had no budget. I could not find a director to make the show within that budget because I had no money beyond that budget. So I had to end up directing it on my own with help from my director of photography, Sushil Rajpal. He taught me on set how I would do shot divisions, how, and somewhere from my instinct, he taught me to trust my instinct. He said, "Yaar, just do the scene, na, matlab main shoot kar lunga." So we shot from a place of instinct. We staged scenes. I used to stage scenes based on how I would see them unfolding before me in real life. So I started staging scenes that way, and because it came from a place of innocence and honesty, that work was appreciated. What I did was appreciated, and they asked me to do one more story. Now, the second story was the bigger challenge because suddenly I felt expectation. They liked what I had done, and I felt I had to go beyond that. So while I was doing all this work, I met some friends who were all struggling to make their mark in the film business. So
Yes.
there was this there was this music composer who I had met, and I told him, I said, I'm looking for stories. So he said, I know lots of writers, I'll get you stories. So he gave me around 10 stories, out of which I selected one. I selected one and I said, I want to do this. It was called Highway. It was remade later on in Das Kahani as High on the Highway. It wasn't as good as the story that I had written, that was originally done. But yeah, I made High on the Highway. I made Highway in 1994 with Ashish Vidyarthi and Shefali Shah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sure.
and the story surprisingly was written by the. I did not know. I chose the story. The story got selected by the channel, and I told the composer. I said, can you get the writer in touch with me? So he said, are you sure you want to do this story? I said, yeah, I like this only. I don't like the other stories. He said, out of those 10 stories, this is the only one that is not written by the writer. This is written by me.
Mhm.
So the that composer was forced. I said, now you are stuck. I am also stuck. We'll have to sit and write this. So we sat together and we wrote a script, not knowing how to write scripts.
Mhm.
That composer is today Vishal Bhardwaj. Uh,
Mhm.
Vishal Bhardwaj is now one of our most celebrated writers. When we
Yeah,
started
of
at a
course.
time when Vishal did not know how to write, I did not know
Mhm.
how to direct. And the story that we made, Highway, sort of changed my life. It was a 25-minute tale. We made it with a lot of passion, with a lot of conviction. The channel rejected it twice, but I was not afraid of the rejection. I said, the story will remain the way it is. What I've shot will remain the way it is because I believe in it. And if you don't like it, I will see it in my living room. And it was a risk I had taken because it would have meant in 1994 losing nearly 1.5 lakh rupees. And I could not afford that. But the channel eventually took the story, and the story, when it was aired, created this crazy buzz. A lot of people, a lot of actors started approaching me, started talking to me. A lot of producers started coming up to me saying they wanted to work with me. People like Subhash Ghai, who was like a top director at that time. Uh, Shekhar Kapoor, who had just made Bandit Queen, had all of them saw it on TV. Everybody used to watch satellite TV. They saw it on TV, and they contacted me from nowhere, and that sort of uh, pushed my journey towards storytelling. I made my first film in
And
1997, 98. I shot the
Jaydev.
film. 98 was Jayate. So Jayate, again, Jayate happened to me because of Vishal Bhardwaj,
Yeah.
because it was produced by the man who had produced Matches,
Mhm.
R.V. Pandit. So R.V. Pandit produced Jayate because he was impressed with the. I was cutting the trailers for Matches. I used to do promos to survive, and my promos were liked by him. Gulzar Saab liked my promos. So Gulzar Saab and Vishal actually pushed for me to make my debut film. And the funny part is, my debut film was neither written by Gulzar Saab, nor did it have music by Vishal,
Mhm.
because my producer said not Vishal. And so the music was by Dr. L. Subramanian. And my debut film was written by a debut writer. It
Mhm.
was that writer's first film. Again, that writer did not know how to write a screenplay.
Mhm.
He was
Mhm.
completely new. He was raw. He had read a lot of screenplays, but the craft of writing was still we were still understanding the craft of writing a film screenplay.
Mhm.
And that writer was Anurag Kashyap. So it was Anurag Kashyap's first film as a writer. I mean, all of us. I mean,
Was
we were
Jaydev.
all finding our
Yeah.
feet at that time.
Mhm.
And I met Anurag Kashyap at Manoj Bajpayee's house. Uh,
Mhm.
and they were just everybody was just hanging out at Manoj's house, and
Mhm.
nobody had any work. I mean, after I started Jayate, Anurag got Satya, Manoj got Satya, and
Mhm.
somewhere around the same time, when my film was complete. Unfortunately, Jayate never got released, and
Mhm.
but it was part of the Indian panorama. Both Satya and Jayate
Had
were part of the Indian
Mummy.
panorama. In,
Mhm.
no, Indian panorama,
Okay.
which is part of the International Film Festival of India,
Yeah.
IFFI.
Maybe. Mhm.
Yeah, so that's where the journey started. I mean, 1997, 23 years back, I started shooting my first film, and
Mhm.
the last film I made, Chalan, is I think my 16th feature film. 16 feature
Yeah.
films, innumerable television projects,
Yeah.
and until I'm alive, I will be directing.
Turumka. You're right now on
No, it's
Turumka.
called it's called it's called no, it's called Chalang. The title
Chalang.
the
Okay.
title had been changed, yeah,
Okay.
few
Okay. Okay. Okay.
months ago. Yeah.
Hmm. But it has been a very interesting journey, right? From Khana Khazana to Chalang now. Chalang.
Yeah.
So
So Chalang is actually the word Chalang is the story of my life. मैंने वो
mm,
छलांग ली थी. I'd taken that leap. You see,
right.
filmmaking is all about taking that leap of faith.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
everything I've done in my life has been a leap of faith. I have trusted myself to take that leap.
You just said ki don't be afraid of rejection. And rejection is often
Yeah.
rejection actually comes across filmmakers. We filmmakers often it comes across since we are not having any godfather or any mentor or somehow we get one. but really it is a very difficult situation. I'd like to ask you, since you have made Shahid, since you have made Aligarh, and films like these, even Simran, I guess you have a very peculiar inclination towards, civil rights and human rights, or better to call freedom of every individual human being. So, how should we understand it from your own point of view as a Hansal Mehta, who made these films? Shahid
You see, I
one,
don't do that consciously.
yeah,
National Award for, yeah. So I'll tell you, I don't do it. It is not a conscious. It is never done consciously. You
okay,
basically react to the stories that you hear. You react to the stories that you read, and the stories that resonate with you become films. So uh, it is the audience that observes that yes, the stories that resonate with this filmmaker are stories that deal with freedom, that deal with themes of human rights. So I mean, this is this is the thing. You don't make films uh, as a flag bearer, as a torch bearer. You make films to tell stories, and but you tell stories that your heart that come straight from your heart, that resonate with you, that appeal to you, and that becomes a film. And that when that becomes a film, the audience sees things in it.
I agree to your point to certain extent, but is this simple coincidence when you made Shahid, then Aligarh is also speaking the same, on the same intonation it is, and
So
Simran,
I mean,
of course, it is on the same intonation, same pitch. So, is this a coincidence, or really you have some inclination towards this very?
Of course, I have. I mean, I have. You cannot separate a filmmaker's politics, his philosophy, and his overall, life, his approach to life from his films. So, my changing. I mean, uh, your politics, your philosophy is a constantly evolving force. It is constantly evolving within you, and that evolution reflects in the stories that you choose, the stories that you choose to tell. It is a measure of how badly you want to tell those stories. So, before Shahid, I mean, there was a brief phase in my career, not brief, I mean, nearly 7 to 8 years, where I told stories that were just simply stories. They were meant for, I wanted them to be commercially successful. They were made
Yeah,
more
Woodstock Villa.
considering the craft of
Yeah.
that Woodstock Villa. It was all very crafty and it was made
Mm,
with all technique and craft and style, but
mm,
it had no substance. And
mm.
you see, that was also a phase, and that was a phase in which I realized that I was not bothering about the stories resonating with me. They were not reflecting me. So when I some amount of nearly 3 years of self-introspection led me to the stories that I am naturally drawn to. I made stories with other people wanted me to make. I really did not want to make Woodstock Villa initially. I had gone to Sanjay Gupta with another film. I had pitched something else to him, and he said, "We'll make that later, but do this first."
Mm.
And it so happened I said, "Okay, I will make it." So I was telling stories that other people wanted to tell.
Very
But the
nicely
day I
and very
decided to tell
blunt,
the stories I wanted to tell,
very nicely, very honestly, and
I
very
became the
bluntly.
different filmmaker.
Mhm. Okay, I would add very
Yeah,
nicely, very bluntly, and very outspokenly. You just said something about your own film, own child, Woodstock Villa, that you will never like to make another film like that. But and definitely, filmmaker is actually until and unless the
I
story
mean,
resonates within him. That's true. There is a very interesting question I just floated up, and this is some very young kid who has been listening to this, and he asks, okay, I want to know, sir, I want to study and I want to come to films. Filmmaking, he wants to study. But my parents and elder brother, they say you should study engineering. They say film is no profession with the secure future. I don't want to study engineering. What should I do? He is asking for your just what
My
should.
advice, my advice is unfortunately going to be very unpopular. And my advice is leave the house right away. Get out of the house. You're too sheltered that you're relying on the advice of people. I mean, go chase your dream. I mean, I'm telling you from experience. Even my family wanted me to be an engineer, and that's what I did. I did what everyone wanted me to do. I actually wanted to be a chef. I did not want to even be a filmmaker. I wanted to be a chef, but my family did not want me to do that. And they said, we should do engineering. It's a secure profession. Nothing is secure. What is secure is something that you are passionate about. If you're passionate about something, security will follow. I mean, there are ups and downs, and engineering is a very outdated concept. We are in, while there was a technological revolution and information revolution in a certain, there's a generation. I grew up in that generation where there was an information revolution. That is now the entertainment revolution. We are in the midst of, the kind of possibilities that have opened up. The YouTubers are making money. You don't need to be in a profession. Like, I don't need to be a filmmaker and make films. I can make films for YouTube. I can make films for TikTok. I can be doing so many things using the visual medium, the audio visual medium, and making a career out of it, enjoying it without the pressure of getting to just make films. That is also a very outdated construct, that the ultimate aim is to make films. I think the ultimate aim should be to tell stories, and there has been no better time, thanks to technology, to tell stories. Even me, I've embraced the digital medium. I made a web show called Bose, Dead or Alive, in 2017, with Rajkumar Rao playing Subhash Chandra Bose. Then I made, I've just finished a web series called Scam of 1992, with it's about Harshad Mehta. So, I mean, it's such exciting times. There's so many ways in which we can tell stories that it should never be limited. So, my suggestion to you is tell your parents and tell everyone who's advising you that either let me follow my dreams, or either you let me follow my dreams, or I will follow my dreams without your consent. I will run away. I'm sorry for giving you this kind of terrible advice. Your parents won't like me for that.
Yeah, of course, of course. There is another question floating up, and uh, one of the participants wants to know, can you please throw some light on the process of factors that one must keep in mind while trying to translate a story into a screenplay?
Can you again
Should I repeat? Yeah, I'm repeating it. It
repeat
is
the
just
question?
in my box. Can you please throw some light on the process of factors that one must keep in mind while trying to translate a story into a screenplay? How can a story be translated into a screenplay? How come a story?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it is a painful process. Translation of a story. Not every story translates into a great screenplay. So for every Shahid, I have 15 scripts that are left unfinished or abandoned because they did not make it to a final script. So without writing, you will not find out. So the most important thing is that can you, there are it's a craft. Screenplay writing is a craft, like any other filmmaking craft, like cinematography, like sound design. So if you have a story in your mind, first you should be able to write its log line. You should be able to describe the story in 2 to 3 sentences. If you are able to do that, if you are able to show me a beginning, middle, and end, then there is a possibility that it can turn into a story. Then write the story. Write it. Write it the way you see it. Don't write in flowery language, just write it. 15 pages, 10 pages, 20 pages. Write it in the language that you understand. Write it in Hindi, write it in English, write it in Malayalam, write it in any language, but write the story and read it yourself. Is this translating into a film? If you think it is, then it is merely crafting. Screenplay writing is about breaking the story into a series of actions, a series of actions that lead to the ultimate climax of the film, a series of actions that include action, characters, and dialogues. So it is merely that. That is screenplay writing. Screenplay writing is simply craft. Story writing is the actual, I mean, that is architecture. Screenplay writing is civil engineering.
Very nicely,
So
well,
if an
very
architect is
nice.
able to design, if he's able to design, if he's able to design a great monument or a building, then a civil engineer must be able to execute it, and that is what screenplay writing is.
Very nice, very nice. A very interesting question has just floated, Hansel. And this
Yeah.
question says, what is the one mistake most filmmakers make, regardless of experience? Should I repeat it
Uh,
once?
yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, one of the biggest mistakes we often make is to take ourselves too seriously. You
That's
know,
good.
so what happens is that that's what I was talking about expectation. That the moment I won the national award for Shahid, there was this whole thing that now what will he do? Matlab, I had put those weighty expectations, the burden of expectation on myself, and that is your biggest enemy. I started taking, I mean, I should not be taking myself too seriously. Ultimately, you won an award, it was over for a film. It's over. You have to start with a fresh slate. You have to start without any knowledge. You have to start with the same nervousness that you would your first film. So I keep trying to ensure that I maintain that level of uh, humility and nervousness. I get up every day not knowing whether today I will be able to, whether I am capable enough of doing what I am setting out to do. But I tell myself that I will trust my instincts, and that's what happens. So it's just, I mean, a lot of filmmakers have fallen prey to that. Senior filmmakers, I will not name them because it's not very respectful. But
Yeah,
a lot of senior filmmakers have fallen prey to their own image, their own self-created, their self-image, taken themselves too seriously, and they've become redundant. So I think the biggest mistake we make is in taking yourself too seriously, you stop learning. So that learning should never stop. It's a constant in your life. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to find out about new technology. I'm trying to find out about new ways to shoot. I watch shows. I watch films. I watch films by complete new filmmakers to learn from them. How did I call them? I call them and ask them how they made it. How they, like when I saw Newton, I had seen Newton in a very rough cut stage, and I went to the director and I sat with him. I said, "How did you do it?" And genuinely I asked him, "How did you do it?" I wanted him to tell me his process. So from his process, I learned. When I made Shahid, I was working with a completely new actor, Rajkumar Rao. It was a
Correct.
gamble I'd taken, but the process of making Shahid uh, was evolved by Rajkumar and me. It was a process that we did together. I learned from Rajkumar a new process of staging scenes, of creating magic. So it's that process of learning should never stop.
Yeah, there is another very interesting question. We all hear
Yeah,
so often about the lack of original stories in the world, that we
right.
have all seen it before. How do you stay fresh in the face of an era or an idea like that? Quite interesting.
Beg your pardon? Yeah.
Uh, Ashish, should I repeat it
How do
once
you
again?
say fresh? Yeah, I
How do
don't know.
you
I mean,
stay
I
fresh?
I stay fresh
How do
by that's what I said, by trying to learn all the time. And I mean, it's easy to say. People say the process of learning should never stop. It's a great quote, but it is not a quote. It is a practice. It is something that we should never stop doing. So I mean that keeps me fresh, and I like working with young people. I like working with new people. So every time there's somebody new who comes into my life, it sort of gives me a new energy. It poses a new kind of challenge. I think the important thing is to keep posing new challenges for yourself every time. How do I tell a different story? How do I make this? How do I make this film differently? And by doing that, by constantly challenging yourself, and by being healthily competitive with the younger generation, you can keep yourself fresh and alive.
there are so many questions floating up, and there is another question. What is, in your opinion, is the most important quality in a film director?
Patience,
Hmm.
patience. I think is the biggest. Patience and understanding. I think the understanding of other human beings, because the director himself does not is not somebody who actually shoots the film. He does not edit the film. He does not physically write. Technically, the director is somebody who gets all these talents together and makes them work in one direction. That's why he's called a director. So the ability to work with people, to motivate them constantly, to remain positive, to be patient, is, I think, one of the biggest qualities of a director. The ability to trust talent, the ability to trust everyone is a very, very important factor. The ability to motivate people, the ability to not have an ego while embarking on a creative endeavor. I think that is the most important quality for a director.
There is another question. What is harder, getting started or being able to continue?
Sorry.
Hansal sir, my name is Professor Devakar Shukla. I guess Rajiv's
Hi, hi.
net or something is a. I'm so sorry to butt in,
Right, right.
but I'm just standing for Rajiv till his net can come back.
Sure, sure,
He
sure. No
was
problem.
yeah. So he was essentially asking you the question, which I could gather is it difficult to start and be successful and continue doing it, and how difficult it is to kind of continue doing it, because at times we do realize that we get stuck up. So getting started is a difficult part, or being continuously keep going is a difficult part.
I think both. Both are. I don't see both as difficult. I've always said that neither of them should be seen as a hurdle. They are both different stages in your development as a human being. So I think yes, that first foot into the door is important, but sustaining that, and that is what I am. I mean, sustaining that in spite of the ups and downs. You see, when you start taking failure or success too seriously, uh, sustenance becomes very difficult, because with if success gives you an ego, if success makes you stagnant, and failure leads you to despair. Both these things can stop you from going ahead in life. Both success and failure are very temporary, and they are in your minds. And I think it is about dealing with success and failure. That is the most important skill that one needs to develop.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this. Interesting question, which comes up on actually Rajiv's dashboard. It comes
Yeah.
from one of the sprint studies, sprint Sankal, and he says, "Yeah, how do you know when your story is finished? When to walk away?" So it's really difficult for a person who has created a screenplay story to be possessive at times about it, and so excitement. So
Well,
how do you walk away from
well, I have that ability. I mean, walking away means, I'll tell you what happens. You basically just need to, the moment you move on to the next step, you see, you don't walk away until you move to the next step. So, for example, on the 15th of April, I was supposed to start shooting a film. So there was a deadline. So we had completed our script for that film on the 31st of March. 15 days before we had completed, and I was working on a little bit of the script, and then suddenly the lockdown was announced and everything went haywire. Now we don't know when we are shooting. So what do I do? Now I'm back to the story. I'm back to the script. So until we decide when we are shooting, I'm going to be working on it continuously. So I think the day you move on to the next step, that is the time to walk away from that and to focus on the next step, on executing.
Okay. Uh, Ansel, Sab, there's another question which has come. Just give me a moment because it's a longish question. So this is a
Yeah.
student of the third year of film studies program at a university, Pranav. He says, what is happening with your movie Omerta? As your films in decades are so
Right.
beautifully and cinematographically told to everyone. I'm so curious to know that how was the journey while dealing with such subjects like Aligarh, Shahid, and especially with Omerta. As a person, Umar Sheikh was too dangerous. What made you go for such movie to involve him? Please also tell me when your movie Omerta is going to be released on digital platform.
I will start with the last question. I don't
Okay.
know when, because very often, so it is the answer is in the last question. Uh, when do you move on? So once the film is out and the audience has consumed it to whatever extent, I mean, Ometa is over now. That attachment is over. It's sad that it's not out there for people to see. But it's a production issue. My producers and distributors have some dispute. An ongoing dispute has led to it not being on any online platform. But yeah, I mean, choosing those kind of stories, as I said, it's an instinct. I'm drawn to interesting stories. So while in Shahid and Aligarh, I had tried to deal with the human condition from a point of empathy. I was trying to see how do you look at an evil mind, a mind of somebody who we perceive as evil. How do you look at evil as a human characteristic? Because the person who is doing it believes he's on a mission, believes he's doing something that is holy, and how does that person approach, so what I perceive as evil and is right in somebody's head how do I interpret that kind of a mind? So it's a look into a complex mind, and the kind of mind that is responsible for some of the unrest in today's world. So it was, I mean, it was a challenge that I had taken onto myself, that to tell a story that would resonate uh, with people uh, on a different kind of level. To look at the anatomy of an evil mind.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for this. Hansal sir, many times the students in classes, and particularly I know in two big areas, is they're talking is one of the film studies students, and often the journalism students also ask us is how much do the commerce affects the art, and
Right.
also how much as a filmmaker, and with a just such a buzzing idea, how do you have to compromise with the budgets or the financial restrictions, so to say, or the business part of it? How much does it dampen or elevate your vision of a film?
You see, I have never seen budgets uh, as a dampener. I always, the reason I've been able to make films all these years is because I tell my producer, how much money do you have? I'll make it in that much. If you don't have money, we will make it without any money. Shahid, my film Shahid was made at a cost of 35 lakhs.
Wow.
And after that film was sold to UTV, UTV Disney, that's when they paid us some money. So I paid my other crew members, and the cost went up to around 75 lakhs.
Right.
So,
Of course.
but the film, when it went to the Toronto International Film Festival, it was a 35 lakh film. It was shot with a Canon 5D DSLR for most part. A little bit of it was shot on red, and a variety of whatever camera somebody was charitable enough to give us on that day, we shot with that. So that's what I mean. That was never a dampener. It never stopped me from telling that story. I wanted to tell the story more badly. And I told my technical team, I said, just look at it that today we are going to tell the story of this guy, of this man called Shahid Azmi, and what is the best way given the resources we have that we will be able to tell it. And everybody worked with that spirit. And so, as a director, the responsibility is to make it as much as possible a win-win situation for everyone. If you have to make a film like Omerta, you have to make it at a cost at which the producer can recover his money from television and OTT rights. From very minimum theatrical, you know that your films will not have the audience that a Rohit Shetty film has. So you make it in those kind of budgets, and I have never found that to hamper my storytelling. I am here to tell stories, and money will never limit that.
I think Hansal Sahib, you said it so correctly, and many of the existing film studies students, as well as the ones who are wishing to get into these programs, it's such an amazing point that you kind of narrated. Um, and what it brings me to is that as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, you need to have a conviction in the story that you're trying to bring in front and express yourself. And two also is
Conviction. I give another name to conviction. You see, I
yeah,
make films with desperation. I'm a
wow,
desperate filmmaker, and I think the need to be desperate is crucial. And we, as young filmmakers, as experienced filmmakers, never lose that desperation. And the desperation is to tell stories. The desperation is not to survive. See, there's a difference between a desperation to survive. So many people say कि अरे हमने तो 5 दिन से खाना नहीं खाया, हम घूम रहे हैं बस एक ऑफिस से दूसरी ऑफिस. ऐसे वो नहीं है. The desperation to excel in your craft, the desperation, I mean everybody, right from the late Irfan Khan to everyone has struggled. They've gone to producers' offices, asked for work, but they have never stopped working on their craft. and that the desperation to be working on your craft, to bettering your craft, to telling stories is important. So more than conviction, it is desperation. Desperation and conviction are one.
Absolutely, it's a very brilliantly put. I think Rajiv sir, you're back. I think is it
Yeah,
okay? So you can
yeah,
take it
yeah,
with Hansal sir. I think we have about 5-10 minutes more. Hansal,
yeah.
before I sign off, I just wanted to, because I don't know if I'll get a chance to speak to you right now. Any message, because at Jagre School of Visual Arts and Design, the school with Rajiv sir also leads the film program for us. There are lots of students who are studying film studies, trying to specialize as cinematographers and directors and a whole lot of things. Our kind of a advice to them always is that to be thinking films every moment, and obviously exercise practicing. But any message you have for these budding students and filmmakers?
I think one very very important thing that filmmakers must do. We must remember that film is an amalgamation of many arts. So don't lose sight of those other arts. I mean, read, reading is very important. What happens is we focus, we watch films, and we think we've become filmmakers. But remember, the great filmmakers always borrowed from literature. The great songs came from poetry. Our great songs were written by Shahid by Kafi Azmi, by Mazrur Sultanpuri, by Gulzar, by Javed Akhtar. They are all great poets. Our directors, our writers came from a background of literature. So don't stop reading literature. Don't stop appreciating poetry. Don't stop listening to great music. All those things will develop you as a person who is equipped to use the craft you have. The craft is of no use without art.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much, Hansal sir. You said it, and I'll sign off. Rajiv sir, you have about for 5 minutes more with him, and
Yeah,
I really look forward to Hansal sir visiting our campus whenever he's in Bhopal. So I'll just sign
yeah,
off
he
from
will be. He will
Whenever,
be. I'll call
whenever
him
we allow
definitely.
to.
Thank you so much. Thank you
You
so
are
much.
allowed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay. So you are most welcome, Hansel. You will be here very soon. So as we started our early, I would just recall as you give a message to our existing students as well as aspiring students. Film fundamentally is an amalgamation. Film is a representational art. I as a student of cinema, I always studied that. I as a teacher of cinema, I always teach that. Film is seventh art form. Film is a representational art form. Film is a composite art form. Music, dance, painting, sculpture, architecture, theater, literature, everything comes in a perfect blend over there. And very aptly put by you that you said कि this should be actually हमें एक रसिक होना पड़ेगा कहीं अपने भीतर एक रसिकता का हिस्सा विकसित करना पड़ेगा तब हम जाके सारी चीजों को समेट पाएंगे फिल्म मेकर के बताओ इसमें कोई शक नहीं सो कमिंग बैक टू the old thing though you have very clearly explained it film is a growing technology what it has no almost 125 years of history so nowadays we see films from Marvel Studio and everything so film is basically art technology and business where exactly new aspiring and budding filmmakers find themselves and what are the possible career options this is maybe the final question for you what may be the possible
Well,
career options yeah
I
you
think
please continue
the number of career options has become very big now. Uh, uh, Given the rise of the OTT platforms, given the rise of social media. Social media has, I mean, who knew that stand-up comedy would become such a big art form? become such a big form of resistance, political resistance.
Yeah.
And it will invite such huge number of such amount of viewership, so much of debate. So I mean, it has technology has helped expression evolve to a great extent. So I think the important thing is the career options keep practicing your craft at different levels. I mean, I don't think it has to be viewed as a career the way a career was viewed in the 80s and the 90s. कि
Right.
मतलब ग्रेजुएशन किया, अब बाहर निकले, नौकरी में लग गए और हमने 15 साल सर्विस करने के बाद हमको क्वार्टर्स मिले और हम फिर मतलब प्रमोट हुए. So that is gone. We are living in a world that is virtual, that is globalized, and that is talent. We are living in the talent economy. And I think the important thing is कि आप अपने टैलेंट को जितना ज़्यादा होन करें और उस टैलेंट को आप जितने ज़्यादा मतलब जो हम क्या है लिमिट करते हैं अपने टैलेंट को कि नहीं मैं तो सिर्फ
Right.
फिल्म बनाऊंगा और वो भी फिल्म बनाऊंगा रणबीर कपूर के साथ ही. तो हम खुद ही लिमिट करते हैं अपने आप को. तो मैंने अपने करियर में सब कुछ किया है. मैंने एडिटिंग किया है, मैंने साउंड डिजाइन किया है, हर काम, कोई काम छोटा नहीं है, हर काम करने से ही मैंने खाना खजाने में खुद को क्राफ्ट सिखाने के लिए आई एडिटेड द शो, आई शॉट द शो, आई शॉट इट, एडिटेड इट, आई डिड द ग्राफिक्स एंड द पैकेजिंग ऑफ द शो, and I did the mastering of the show. And I was also the delivery boy. मैं master बना के I would get into the bus, take the bus to ZTV, personally go and deliver it to the delivery section every week. And so that was, I mean, it's a discipline that I inculcated within myself, and that discipline has today taken me wherever I am today. कि कोई भी काम छोटा नहीं है इस इंडस्ट्री में. हमें लगता है कि भाई ये रोहित शेट्टी जो करता है वही बड़ा है. नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं. जो रोहित शेट्टी करता है और जो हंसल मेहता करता है वो एक ही है. हम दोनों कहानी कहते हैं, हम दोनों फिल्म बनाते हैं, हमारा तरीका है.
That's the way. That's the difference is there. अच्छा, एक बहुत ही पर्सनल क्वेश्चन करके मैं I'll just wind it up. You made Khana Khajana, you did everything. You said you did graphics, you did sound, you did editing. हम सबको वैसे मालूम है, हम we all know friends, everybody knows. So tell the people what type of cook you are personally. We all know you are a very good cook.
देखो मतलब कुकिंग इज एन एक्सटेंशन ऑफ द परफॉर्मिंग आर्ट्स. कि फिल्म क्या है, बन के रिलीज होती है, फिर क्रिटिक्स लिखते हैं, फिर ऑडियंस देखती है, ऑडियंस आपको रिस्पांस देती है. खाना जो है इंस्टेंट ग्रेटिफिकेशन है. आप जो बनाते हो उसका रिस्पांस तब मिल जाता है. ऑडियंस आपको तभी बता देती है, उनके चेहरे से पता चल जाता है अच्छा है या बुरा है. तो आप अपना बनाया हुआ खुद चख सकते हो और लोगों से उसका रिस्पांस इमीडिएटली ले सकते हो. तो मैं लोगों को खुश करने के लिए खाने पकाता हूँ. आई एम जस्ट आई एम मोर ऑफ एन इंडियन शेफ. मतलब मुझे हिंदुस्तानी खाना ज्यादा पसंद है. अवधी बंगाली हर तरह का खाना बनाता हूँ.
That's so nice of you, Hansal. So I'm winding it up now, and but it's not.
Thank you very much.
It's not a farewell. It's not a goodbye, and I hope you will be very soon with us here in Bhopal at our campus. It's a very beautiful campus, and you will definitely love to stay here. It's in the midst of meadows and jungles, woods. So you would love to.
Lovely. I would love to be there. I love Bhopal a lot. I would love to be there.
Yeah, so we will definitely call you, and thanks a lot. So